Hey guys, I'm in the garden today and it is an absolutely beautiful day, and I thought I'd give you guys a tour and show you what is growing on in my garden. So here in Australia we are just coming into spring and things are looking green. Everything in the garden is growing very well, and people ask me sometimes, how do I get things to grow so well? And from my point of view, I feel like I'm still very early on in my gardening journey, and I feel like I don't actually grow that much food. I just have the illusion of things growing well because it's very green. But the two things I think that have made things pop off is compost, and I just keep planting things. So a lot of times seeds and seedlings actually don't really grow, and you guys don't see that because they just die. But these are all the survivors, so it's survival of the fittest. And let's start here with our snow peas. So these are growing amazing. They've just started flowering, and I love the snow pea flowers. They look like a little dragon, I feel like. So they're going really nice. So I built this arch just to increase the amount of space in the garden, because I only really have these 3 garden beds to play with, which are about 11 meters long. And here we've got a bunch of radish, and I'm experimenting. Just this year I've started experimenting with planting as many different varieties of each crop in the one area. So here I've got about probably 3 or 4 different types of radish. And if we look closer, you can see there's these giant, this is a French something, and then some circular ones somewhere, which is a scarlet globe. And they're doing nicely, and there's obviously just weeds here and there, some nice cosmos. I'm not too worried about that. Heaps of coriander right here. And I will say, with these, I did not do nice neat rows. I did not really bother with, that there's a word for it, coddling. I did not coddle these. I just sprinkled seeds and let them do their thing, and thinned them out a little bit because they were a little bit dense, but overall they look great. And if we come over here, tomatoes. I've had a lot of trouble with tomatoes. They seem to just not like me for some reason. And you can see here they're getting this, I think it's some kind of fungal disease where the leaves just wilt and fall off. And I've trellised them up just to give them a bit of extra space to grow. And once again, I've got a few different varieties in here. Cherry tomatoes. I have this beefsteak tomato. Absolutely beautiful. I honestly prefer the beefsteaks. I just find them nicer to eat. And over here we have enough kale to feed a small village. A few different varieties there. They've done exceptionally well. And just a few other random things. Spinach under the shade of a giant mustard, which I'm letting go to seed. I'm trying to save more seed in the garden because I've recently really got into that whole world of seed saving and saving seeds in your garden that localise to the conditions here. So in Queensland, it's subtropical climate where I live. A lot of rain, very humid, things grow very quickly. And so I'm trying to get plants that adapt to this climate. And from my understanding, the problem with a lot of seeds you get from Bunnings or whatever shop you have is those seeds come from interstate. So for example, seeds come from Victoria and New South Wales, which are very far away. Those seeds are not adapted to this climate. So I'm trying to build resilient seeds. And over here we have some alyssum. I try to just have some flowers in the garden for beauty, and they smell amazing. It's like this kind of honey. Oh, it's like this honey-like smell. I can't even explain it. It's beautiful. And then any gaps that pop up. So this little spot here, I've just put in some cabbage seeds. And I think there's probably 8 different types of cabbage I put in here. So we'll see what pops up. Beetroot. Beetroot's probably one of my favorite leaves to look at. It just has this beautiful red vein. It's just gorgeous. They've done really well. I need to weed it. Carrots, they've done okay. It has been quite wet this year. I think they haven't liked it. Poppies, dill, we got raspberry. That's a native raspberry actually. Let's go pick one. Let's go have a look. This right here is called an Atherton raspberry, native to Australia. They're not as sweet as a regular raspberry, a bit more crunchy, but nice to chew on. Cauliflower, for some reason, these have not fruited yet. They're very luscious, but no fruit that I can see. And if you guys know why, please drop a comment. My theory is that the compost was so nitrogen rich that the plant has just sent all the energy to leaves and not to the fruit. I'm not sure about that. Lettuce, they've just kind of done their own thing. They've popped up. I've just sowed seeds wherever there's a gap and found whatever popped up. And over here, this is the wild garden bed. So the soil was only recently cultivated. This garden bed's probably about a year old compared to these ones, which are about 4 years old. And I've just done some longer perennial crops. So we've got potato here, which is pretty close to being ready. The leaves are starting to yellow. A few different varieties in there. I've done a bunch of pumpkins and corn in here. You can see here are the pumpkins popping up. I want to try and get more into direct sowing seeds, just straight into the ground. It just makes more sense to me because the plant gets a better root system, and I want to grow more resilient plants like I was saying before. So I don't want to coddle them. I just don't want to worry about seedlings, just put them straight in the ground. So that's what I'm doing. So pumpkin, corn, and then eventually I want to do beans to do like a 3-sister method. So they all grow together, saving space. Some tomatoes here, they're doing okay. And that's pretty much it at the moment. And my main goal in the garden is to make things as little input as possible. So I only water this garden probably once a week. And to be fair, we have had a lot of rain this year. But anything that doesn't survive or doesn't thrive, I don't worry about it, because I only want the best plants growing in the garden. And if something doesn't pop off, I will put more seeds in, or I'll put a seedling in just to fill that gap. Otherwise, weeds will do that job for you. And I've struggled with that a lot in the past, where my garden has been very weedy. It still is weedy, but weeds are like a band-aid for the soil. And so whenever there's a gap, the weeds fix it. Weeds actually accumulate nutrients and fix it into the ground. So whenever there's a weed, it's actually nature's way of trying to fix whatever's wrong in the soil. And you can actually tell that with the type of color of the flower. So yellow flowers over here, you can see there's purple flowers, white flowers, they all indicate different things. So that can be a cool thing to look into. But that's the first thing, is getting things as low input as possible. The second thing is just being consistent. So I try and come to the garden every morning and spend roughly 5 to 10 minutes here, weeding, checking on things, and just getting out in nature. It's absolutely beautiful. And I don't do that every morning because I do have a job. I've got a girlfriend. That takes time. And yeah, I don't get here every day, but I'm trying to do that. And I've made a lot of mistakes. And I feel like I'm getting to a point now where the food is starting to increase. I'm trying to eat more veggies in my diet. I was close to carnivore for a little bit, and my viewpoint on that has changed. I think we need to eat more of a whole foods diet and eat what grows well in your area. So if plants don't grow well in your area, you probably shouldn't be eating them. That's just what I think. So the kale grows well. I'm eating lots of kale in my eggs and making salads out of it. I got spinach. That's probably about radish. I got some radish. So I'm just kind of sprinkling things in my food. I'm probably only eating about 10% of my diet is from the garden. So not too bad. And that's my main goals, just to get things as efficient as possible, consistent, and as low input. And I'm still definitely a beginner, but I think everyone should be gardening. That's why I'm making this video, because I want to share my passion with you guys. Enough with the garden. Let's move on to my new chicken babies. Okay, so these are my chickens, and I'm very excited about these. So these are Quamby chickens, and they are a multi-purpose bird. So you can eat them for meat. They lay, I think, 300 eggs a year on average. So they're very good layers. and they were developed in Tasmania over about, I think it was 5 to 10 years. So it took a lot of time to get this breed, and I've heard a lot of good things about them. They were made pretty recently, and these are month-old chicks. So eventually I'd like to start processing my own meat from these chickens, and obviously getting eggs every day. And I'm very interested in the heritage breeds of chickens, which are like older chickens that are bred to be more resilient. Like the plants, they don't need coddling, and they can forage for a lot of their own food. So I'm trying to breed some chickens that are basically don't need any attention. And I think with these Quambies, they're great, but eventually I'd like to introduce other chicken species to create something that's better suited to the subtropics. And at the moment, they're in here. I've just sectioned this off just because they are quite young, and they've got food, water, and then eventually I want to get some like electric fencing and take this, section this area off, and then also allow them to forage in this whole area, and kind of control where they go. We have had some Isa brown chickens in the past, which I think are one of the most common chickens used for eggs. And we found that just having them in one area, the ground got so, I'll even show you, the ground got so muddy over time, because chickens are just great at destroying the earth. It got so muddy that there's now a clay pan here, and this used to be black soil. So they basically got rid of all the plants roots hold the soil, and then it all washed away. And it's still not even fully recovered after like a year and a half of not having chickens. So chickens are great, but they can also be deadly. So electric fencing is, I think it's a must if you want to have a decent amount. I also thought I'd show you guys my chicken incubator. Well, it's not mine, I'm borrowing it off a friend. But this thing is basically a climate controlled little biosphere. And it basically controls the humidity and the temperature. So water goes from this pipe into the machine, which regulates the humidity, and this thing spins, and there's 24 eggs in here, and you can control all the stats here. So it's a pretty cool piece of technology, but I am definitely leaning more towards having broody chickens, which basically means chickens that have mother instinct. So they lay eggs and they sit on the egg and incubate them, just like this. And it's interesting because this is basically trying to replicate how a chicken already works in nature. And I found it so fiddly to get it right, because it's very humid here. And it's made me realize that Mother Nature's got it figured out, guys. I don't think we need these. I think we can move away from this. So that's my little spiel, but very cool piece of technology. And in here, there's probably about 12 more Quamby eggs that I got posted from Tasmania. And that's just for some genetic diversity, because I don't want the ones that you saw before breeding because they're siblings. I want to try and get some different genetics in there. And then I also have, if I lift it up, I've got some brown eggs, blue eggs from a friend. I believe they're Well Summers or something like that, just to spice things up in the chicken coop. And that's pretty much it at the moment. It's not much, but it's honest work. And I think with the way the world's going at the moment, gardening can solve a lot of the world's problems. And I think we're so busy looking at the macro of the world and all these big problems and things are falling apart that we forget to look at the micro. What can we do in our backyard to make our lives better and get healthier and live a happier life? And so I'm trying to grow food, eat healthy, and my journey's only just started, but I hope that my passion can inspire some of you guys to get out there and become self-sufficient in something. It doesn't even have to be changing your whole life around. It could just be growing a few herbs or getting 1 egg a day from 1 chicken. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and follow along for my journey of eating well and growing lots of food.